Hey guys, Superhorrorbro Mike here, and in today's video, we take a look at each and every monster type found throughout Resident Evil 4 Remake. So sit back, relax, and let's explore the terrors patrolling the horrifying grounds of the Valdalobos village and beyond. The most common enemy type found during Leon's adventure are the Ganados, who come in many forms depending on our location. Ganado is Spanish for cattle, a fitting description as the Ganados are controlled like mindless livestock by Los Illuminados cult leader Osmund Saddler, after becoming infected with a parasite known as Las Plaga. More on that later. When Leon begins his adventure in the village of Valdalobos, he first encounters the villager Ganados, who immediately try to kill him. They are made up from both male and female inhabitants, and attack with a range of weapons including Molotov cocktails, hatchets, pitchforks, knives, and sticks of dynamite. They will also attempt to grab Leon and hold him in place for another of Saddler's disciples to land that fatal blow. The Ganados attack in large groups and can easily overwhelm both Leon and the player if they don't have their wits about them. A far more deadly and powerful version of the standard villager Ganado comes in the form of these chainsaw-wielding maniacs. They have both male and female variants. The male chainsaw Ganado is known as Dr. Salvador and wears a sack over his head. Holes cut in the bag reveal his infected eyes. Dr. Salvador will charge the player while swinging his chainsaw about wildly. Any contact with the chainsaw results in an instant death, so it is paramount to keep our distance. Though the chainsaw can be parried with Leon's knife, but doing so breaks it in the process. The female counterpart to Dr. Salvador comes in the form of two sisters known as the Bella Sisters. The sisters attack together and, while fairly slow, are devastating in close quarter combat, and much like the Chainsaw Man, can kill in an instant if they are allowed to get too close. Their faces are wrapped in bandages, hiding their no doubt hideous appearance beneath. The zealots, also sometimes referred to as cultists or monks, are Saddler's most loyal followers and assist Lord Ramon Salazar in the castle overlooking the village. Usually dressed in black robes, these zealots attack with torches, maces, scythes, and crossbows. Some even come equipped with wooden shields, which must be shot through or around to land an attack. All this makes these zealots tougher to deal with than the standard villager enemies. There are also robed enemies adorned with cattle skull masks who wield long staffs. These are known as summoners, and have the ability to speed up the infection rate of the Plaga parasite within a host, causing them to hatch out and attack. Because of this, it is important to prioritize takedown of these priest-like figures ahead of other enemies before they are given time to flex their supernatural skill set. When Leon reaches the military compound located on the island toward the end of the game, he comes into contact with soldier-like Ganado known as combatants. These Ganado wield far more powerful weapons, which include stun batons, crossbows, and rocket launchers. They also wear armor plating to protect from gunfire, which must be shot around or blown off before any damage is dealt. All of this makes these militant Ganado far more lethal than their villager and cultist counterparts. The final Ganado enemy type are the super strong brutes. While the brutes only show up on a handful of occasions throughout Leon's journey, they certainly leave an impression when they make their appearance. The brutes wear pigskin masks over their faces and are extremely tall and muscular. Their great strength allows them to swing giant hammer-like weapons around, and later during the island stages to wield Gatling guns which mulch Leon in a matter of seconds. The catalyst for all the terrible events that befell the inhabitants of Valdalobos and its surroundings can be traced back to the Las Plagas parasite. Las Plagas, roughly translated to English, means the plague, a fitting name considering how this parasite works. The Plaga works by finding its way inside a host's body and then attaching itself to their nervous system. After just a matter of days, the Plaga rapidly grows through stages A, B, and C. When it reaches stage C, it is able to control the host completely, as well as communicate with other infected beings and act as a giant hive mind. It can even dispel eggs from the host's skin, which are then consumed by animals, spreading its reach further still. Once Osmund Saddler, the leader of cult group Los Illuminados, learned of the Plagas' dormant location deep within the caves of an unnamed island off the coast of Valdelobos, he had it excavated and weaponized, spreading it to the nearby village and infecting local lords so he could gain influence over the region and begin his plan for world domination. We witness the various stages of Plaga growth in the wide range of monstrous enemies we encounter. Guadana is the initial stage of Plaga transformation. A cluster of writhing tendrils bursts from the neck of a host alongside a long bladed tentacle. This blade has great reach and can easily stagger the player from a distance, though a perfect parry can also stagger the Garrador in return. The best way to deal with these mutations is by throwing out a flash grenade, as they are sensitive to bright light. Though a blast from a powerful weapon such as a magnum or shotgun will also do the trick. First encountered during the castle, the Mandibula are highly dangerous forms of Plaga mutation. An enormous growth spouts from the host, and the parasite splits open to reveal a gaping mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, which can now chomp down on its prey, instantly killing them. Its reach is less than the Guadana, but its attacks are far more deadly. If Leon doesn't have a flash grenade to hand, then we must shoot directly into the Mandibula's open mouth to quickly dispatch it. If you suffer from arachnophobia, then the Arana variant is surely the most skin-crawling of all Plaga parasite forms. Looking a bit like a facehugger from the Alien franchise, these creepy 8-legged freaks move quickly and attach themselves to a suitable host. Using a tendril protruding from the sac on their rear, the Arana quickly gain control of their prey and will use them to rush the player. To combat this, we must quickly shoot the Arana off and then kill it before it has time to reattach. These spidery critters also attack Leon face on, so don't let them get too close. We spoke earlier about how the Plaga eggs infect animals as well as humans. There are only a few examples of this during the game, one being the Colmilos and their mutated variant, Colmilo, dogs now under the control of Las Plaga. These dogs have enormous razor-sharp teeth and unnaturally wide mouths. This is fitting as Colmilos is Spanish for fangs. The dogs will leap at Leon and try to rip pieces from him as they do so. They can also pin him to the floor, and we must quickly counter with a knife attack to break free. When they upgrade to their more advanced form, the Colmilo, a giant bladed tentacle bursts from the canine's back. This tentacle can whip and impale the player, so it is important to quickly down the mutt before it manages to land an attack. The Garradors are a result of the inhumane experimentation conducted on prisoners of Ramon Salazar in the depths of a castle. These experiments underwent physical enhancement through the use of Plaga, which resulted in extreme aggression and hostility toward their creators. Because of this, their eyelids were sewn shut so they could no longer see, and they were chained up in the dungeon and left to rot. However, this procedure simply led to the evolution of the Garradors, as their hearing grew more acute due to their loss of sight. They now rely completely on sound to locate their prey, which can be used to Leon's advantage during combat. The Garrador's main attack comes in the form of slashes from the two large sets of claws attached to their arm braces. They are dressed in armour and their face partially hidden behind an iron mask. Because of this, the only way to defeat a Garrador is to target the parasite growing from its spine. Shooting or knifing the Plaga will eventually lead to the downfall of this powerful monster, and luckily we only encounter a handful during Leon's adventure. The Armadura, Spanish for armour, are living suits of armour. Well, not quite, but they seem that way. They are in fact suits of armour inhabited by the Plaga, which have grown like creepers throughout the inside of the suit. Therefore they are able to walk these suits of armour about the castle, attacking with swords and axes. To defeat the Armadura, we must shoot the exposed parasite, which stuns it and bring the knights to their knees. Then Leon can kick the helmet off, exposing the Gadana living inside the suit. While playing as Ashley, we are unarmed and so must use the light of a lantern to freeze the advancing Armaduras in place. There is also a more powerful golden version of the Armadura, which must be vanquished as part of a merchant side quest. It wouldn't be a Resident Evil game without some kind of killer bug, and sure enough Resident Evil 4 continues the series' trend with locust-like monstrosity, the Novistador. These winged creatures originated from the Los Illuminados' bioweapon experimentation with the Plaga organism. Human genes were spliced with those of insects and the Novistador was the end result. They hover about waiting for the perfect moment to swoop down and attach themselves to their prey, attacking with long clawed arms. They can also swim through water, launching a stealth attack from below the surface. The Novistador is even able to camouflage themselves to blend in with various surfaces such as rock and concrete, so be careful where you step while exploring their nesting grounds. The last of the regular enemy types is the scariest of the bunch, and only appears on a few select instances while exploring the lab and surrounding area during the late game island chapters. Known as the Regenerator by fans, but correctly labelled Regenerador, these monstrous experiments are able to regenerate after their body parts are blasted clean off. They can even wiggle around on the floor and attack while awaiting regeneration. They also elongate their arms, stretching out to grab their victims from afar. These were some of the most advanced bioweapon experiments created under Los Illuminados, and were the result of multiple parasites being implanted inside a human host. We can see these parasites living inside the Regenerators while using the infrared scope. The Plaga must be destroyed in order to finally kill the Regenerator host, and so using this special scope to locate them is key to our survival. Some Regenerators can even evolve after death and grow into a spiky variant known as the Iron Maiden. These evolved versions are red in colour and use their porcupine-like bodies to impale anyone who gets too close. After the final parasite has been destroyed, the Iron Maiden will stretch out and explode, sending its spines flying out in every direction. Now we've taken a look at the regular monster types found throughout Resident Evil 4, let us turn our attention to the game's boss type enemies as we wrap up this rundown video. Del Lago, meaning from the lake, is a giant Plaga experiment that inhabits the lake surrounding the mountain village we explore throughout Leon's ordeal. It is the result of the Plaga being injected into the body of a once harmless salamander. After infection, the salamander grew to an enormous size and was sealed inside the waters of the lake to guard the village from outsiders who may decide to approach by boat. To satisfy Del Lago's ravenous appetite, locals fed it the bodies of the dead. While exploring the lake by boat, Leon comes into direct contact with Del Lago and must defeat it using the harpoons stowed aboard. El Gigante, the giant, are few and far between, but certainly make a big impact on the few occasions we encounter them. They are the result of failed bioweapon experiments conducted by Saddler's cult, Los Illuminados. Plaga parasites were placed inside these wretched souls while still human, causing them to grow into angry and uncontrollable giant mutations. Due to their risk and unpredictability, only a handful of these giants were ever created, spread throughout the region to protect Saddler's dark secrets. Eventually they were sealed away in the castle and mines, where they lay dormant until Leon's arrival, at which time they were summoned once more to aid the twisted cult. To defeat these giants we must shoot them until the Plaga parasite emerges from their back, then focus our attacks on it until the monster falls. We first encounter El Gigante after returning from the lake in chapter 4. If Leon chooses to free the wolf from the bear trap at the beginning of chapter 3, then this faithful companion will join him in battle, greatly leveling the playing field against giant number 1. The second encounter comes during chapter 8 while exploring the castle battlements. El Gigante hurls boulders at the player as they race to reach a cannon which is then used to defeat the mighty monster. Our third and final run-in with these giants pairs 2 of them up in an enclosed arena during chapter 11 as we explore the mines below the castle with Luis. Here we must down the giants in the centre of this smelting room and then open a trapdoor, dropping them into the molten liquid below. Though if you're a glutton for punishment, you can opt to take them down the old-fashioned way. Originally a Catholic priest who ran a church in Valdalobos and also acted as the village chief, Bitores Mendez fell under the influence of Osmund Saddler, who used Las Plagas to convert both Mendez and his congregation into followers of Los Illuminados. Mendez, now under the control of Saddler, carries out his bidding, and was responsible for Leon himself becoming infected with Las Plagas after injecting one of the parasitic eggs into his body. Mendez was also responsible for the imprisonment of Ashley Graham, who was kept locked away in the church until she was later freed by Leon. Mendez is an intimidating foe. Standing roughly 8 feet tall, he towers over most other men, and the Plaga gives him incredible speed and strength. He dresses in a long trench coat and wears a top hat, this look drawing striking similarity to the appearance of the tyrant enemy Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. Eventually Leon becomes trapped in a barn while fleeing the village with Ashley and is cornered by Mendez, who transforms into his evolved parasitic form after he is blown up with an explosive barrel. During this evolved form, Mendez uses a wide variety of attacks spread across 2 separate phases. In the first phase, he will grab at Leon from above, as well as swiping from great distances with his elongated arms and razor-sharp claws. In phase 2, Mendez separates from his legs and becomes far more mobile as a moving torso, swinging from the rafters as he hurls flaming posts at the player and lunges forward to attack. After a long battle in the heated inferno of the burning barn, Mendez finally falls. Verdugo is Spanish for executioner, and that's quite the fitting name for this next very xenomorphic monster. Born from a fusion of human and insect DNA with the Plaga parasite, 2 Verdugos were created to serve Ramon Salazar as guardians within the castle. One was created from Salazar's housekeeper and the other from the lead scientist himself. Initially we encounter them hidden beneath cloaks, but later during a grueling battle in the narrow confines of a castle laboratory, their true form is revealed. The Verdugo has large claws and a hard, spiny outer shell. It whips at its prey with a long bladed tail. It also possesses both great agility and high intellect, moving quickly in and out of the many vents and ducts placed throughout this claustrophobic environment to track its victims as they flee. In order to destroy the Verdugo, we must freeze it using liquid nitrogen, and then, while frozen, blast the creature with our most powerful weapons. Eventually the Verdugo explodes into a sea of icy shards, ending its rampage once and for all.
Finally some peace and quiet.
Ramon Salazar is the 8th Castellan of the Salazar family, and second in command to diabolical cult leader Osmund Saddler. Despite his elderly appearance, Ramon was born in 1984, and as the story of Resident Evil 4 takes place in the year 2004, this makes Salazar just 20 years old. His small stature and aged appearance come from 2 factors. You see, when Ramon was a child, he became very sick, and was due to die before reaching adulthood. This sickness twisted him into a bitter and sadistic child with violent tendencies. At this young age, Ramon was approached by Saddler and offered a way to survive, by allowing his body to become host to the Plaga parasite. Once infected, Ramon himself became a loyal follower of Saddler, believing him to be a prophet and Los Illuminados his salvation. Ramon used his power as Lord to command the local villagers to excavate the castle ruins where his ancestors had sealed Las Plagas away. He then handed the parasite over to Osmund Saddler, who began using it as a bioweapon to strengthen Los Illuminados. He then becomes part of Saddler's master plan for world domination, leading to his hand in Ashley's abduction and infection during a ritual held within his castle.
Please, do continue. Do not resist, my dear. It serves only to make your suffering all the worse. Aquí nos despedimos, Señor Kennedy.
Ramon Salazar functions differently to other infected because he was granted a very specific strain of the parasite, one which allowed the host to retain control. However, during a confrontation with Leon, Salazar is shot in the head, and at this point merges with the Queen Plaga, and mutates into an evolved form. While in this form, Salazar appears as a growth within the Queen Plaga mouth, a Venus flytrap looking creature able to swallow Leon whole. The Queen Plaga darts about the arena, using its long squid-like tentacles to latch onto walls and ceilings and move around at a lightning speed. It spews out black liquid that explodes upon contact. To defeat Salazar's evolved form, we must shoot the pint-sized villain when the Queen Plaga opens her mouth. By doing so, this twisted mother figure loses control and falls to the floor, at which point we can move in to deal Ramon a devastating melee attack. Rinse and repeat this process to eventually fell the Queen and her petulant cohort. Once Leon's old commander while he trained in the military, Major Jack Krauser since became a mercenary for hire, aiding Osmund Saddler in the kidnap of Ashley Graham, as well as infecting himself with an advanced form of Plaga in order to gain superhuman strength. Krauser defaulted after he felt the US military turned its back on him following a horrifying assault mission which led to the death of most of his squadron. Only he and Leon Kennedy survive. Now Krauser is only out to serve his own bitter agenda, and he makes this very clear upon running into his old cadet.
You think I'm doing all this for revenge?
Isn't that what this is all about?
See, in that jungle, I had a revelation. The most important thing in this world is pure, unadulterated power. Los Illuminados have given me that.
We fight Krauser 3 times during the story of Resident Evil 4. The first encounter sees Leon take on Krauser in a knife fight, which takes place in the mines beneath the Salazar castle. We must perfect both block and parry in order to emerge unscathed, as Krauser is a knife combat expert. The second encounter takes place on the island during chapter 15. Here Krauser fights both Leon with knives and guns at long range, using his Plaga abilities to rush about at super speed and to leap about the surrounding ruins with ease. He also sets traps for Leon to fall foul of in between combat encounters. The third and final encounter follows on from Fight 2. Now desperate, Krauser gives in to the Plaga inside his body and evolves into his parasitic form. His arms grow into a shield and sword-like mass, and so we must dodge, block and melee to break through these defences. After a long battle atop the temple ruins, Leon is finally able to fell his old major and put him out of his misery. Last but not least, we have the ultimate evil and leader of the Los Illuminados movement, Osmund Saddler. Originally, Saddler was a bioweapon researcher, working close to the isolated mountain village of Valdalobos. However, once he learned of a Plaga parasite sealed below the Salazar castle, as well as below the fortress of the nearby island, he formulated a plan to take control of any and all local authority, and then use their influence to help excavate the parasite. Once in his hands, Saddler used the Plaga in his experimentation, harnessing their power and infecting local residents to form his cult, Los Illuminados. He wished to use this cult to help realise his ultimate goal of global military control. Saddler's master plan was to kidnap the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, and infect her with the parasite, then returning her to America where she would spread the infection to her father. He could then use the Plaga hive mind to control the president himself like a puppet. Thankfully, due to interception from Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong, as well as interference from his own scientist Luis Serra, Saddler eventually falls. We only fight against Osmund Saddler once, an epic encounter against his own mutated form. After transforming into this gigantic spider-like beast, we must avoid Saddler's devastating jump and swipe attacks, as well as the hordes of Novistador he commands and acid goop he spews. While evading these attacks, Leon must blast an ever-increasing cluster of giant eyeballs that sprout across Saddler's grotesque body. Shooting out these eyes fells the monster and allows us to rush in for a damaging melee attack to his head. Saddler eventually evolves into his final form, where he floats in a glowing orb inside a cluster of enormous tentacles. These tentacles must be avoided as they slam around, attempting to flatten Leon like a pancake. Eventually, Ada comes to our rescue, throwing a rocket launcher into the arena, a powerful explosive weapon that one-shots Saddler and ends the fight in an instant.
I'll give you a holy body.
And with that, we come to the end of this look at the various monsters on display in Resident Evil 4 Remake. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it both entertaining and informative. If you did, then remember to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.